The clink, clink shatters the African dawn's peace. An eerie, haunting sound echoes from an unexpected place. It draws Ranger Sarah into a fateful encounter, where she faces a giant creature in despair. What caused that metallic sound in the wild? And will Sarah dare to risk everything to save even the most feared predator? Let's find out. The African savanna on a pristine morning is a tableau of life and tranquility. The first rays of dawn spread like honey over the golden grass, awakening countless creatures with their gentle warmth. Ranger Sarah, small in stature but with a resolute stride, was on her familiar patrol along the western boundary of the reserve. For her, every morning was nature's whisper, a reminder of the sacred responsibility she had chosen. Her off-road Jeep rolled slowly, its tires crunching softly on the earth, blending into the symphony of birdsong and the wind rustling through the tall grass. Suddenly, an unusual sound pierced that perfect silence. Clink, clink, the metallic clang of something striking something else, repeating steadily like a mysterious summons from afar. Sarah furrowed her brow. This sound didn't belong to the savanna. It carried an artificial, out-of-place quality. She stopped the vehicle, turned off the engine, and listened more intently. The clink, clink persisted, echoing from the dense thickets near a small stream, further beyond her usual patrol route. A sense of unease rose within her. She knew that in this wild world, any discordant sound could signal trouble or a cry for help. Sarah decided to proceed on foot. She followed the direction of the sound, her keen eyes scanning every bush, every footprint on the ground. The clink, clink grew clearer, resounding with pain and desperation. As she pushed through a thick bush, she suddenly froze. Before her was an old, rusty barbed wire fence, erected years ago by local villagers to prevent their livestock from wildlife attacks. It was an ugly scar on the beautiful face of the savanna, a harsh boundary between two worlds that should have coexisted harmoniously. And then, the horrifying sight met Sarah's eyes. A massive African rock python, its large, patterned body, was tragically entangled in the sharp, unforgiving coils of the barbed wire. Blood stained the green grass a deep red, a long streak like a horrific painting of agony. The python writhed, each movement causing the sharp wires to cut deeper into its thick scales, exposing raw flesh. The clink, clink she had heard was the sound of metal striking metal as the python struggled in vain. Fear and despair were evident in its cold, golden eyes. Sarah's heart clenched. This was not just an injured animal. This was a living creature enduring immense pain, a formidable predator, now a piteous victim. Sarah knelt, the keen eyes of an experienced ranger meticulously observing every detail. She wasn't hasty. With a dangerous creature like an African rock python, every movement had to be calculated. She saw a long slide mark on the trampled grass, extending all the way to the fence. It was the trace of a high-speed chase, abruptly cut short. Small drops of red blood formed a trail leading to where the python was trapped, indicating it had struggled for quite some time. And then, she discovered a crucial detail. Small, yellowish-brown impala hairs clinging tightly to the barbed wire barbs. A complete picture formed in Sarah's mind. The python had been driven by its hunting instinct. It had chased an impala, perhaps at dusk the previous day, or in the dead of night. In the thrill of the hunt, it hadn't stopped in time when it reached the old barbed wire fence. The impala might have escaped, but the python, with its incredible speed and power, had charged directly into this deadly trap. It had tried to writhe free, leaving the long slide mark, but the more it struggled, the tighter the barbed wire constricted, turning the dream of a meal into a painful nightmare. This was not a brutal attack, but a tragedy of nature and unforeseen human intervention. With understanding now clear, Sarah knew she had to act, and act immediately. She took out her specialized wire cutters from her backpack. "All right, my friend," she murmured, her voice reassuring herself. "We're getting you out of here." She began to cut. Each rusty, rigid strand of barbed wire, slowly and carefully. A dry snip echoed each time a wire snapped. The python, sensing the impact, thrashed more violently. Each convulsion caused the remaining wires to cut deeper into its flesh, more blood oozing out, mixing with the red earth. Sarah struggled not only with the stubborn wires, but also with the animal's panic. She knew that a strike or constriction from this giant python could end her life instantly. She had to stay calm, maintain intense focus, and control the rising fear within her. The metallic clashes, the clink, clink, that was once a mysterious cry for help, now became the sound of survival, a tense rhythm echoing across the savanna. It was the reverberation of pain, of rescue efforts, and unfortunately, an unintentional invitation to the most fearsome predators. And then, in the distance, Sarah saw them. A pride of lions, two powerful males with brilliant golden manes, majestic as the kings of the savanna. Two watchful females with sharp, vigilant eyes. They approached slowly, steadily, each paw placement deliberate. The scent of blood and the sound had drawn them in. Their golden eyes were fixed on Sarah and the struggling python. The air grew thick with tension. Sarah felt every hair on her neck stand on end. She was caught between life and death, with a life needing saving on one side and hungry predators on the other. The moment of extreme tension. The lead male lion, with its thick mane and cold expression, let out a soft, warning growl. The roar vibrated through Sarah's chest. It moved closer, just a few dozen meters away from her. Sarah took a deep breath, filling her lungs with the hot savanna air. She couldn't afford to panic. One wrong move, one moment of hesitation, could be the end for both her and the python. She continued to cut the wire, strand by strand, her eyes never leaving the encircling lions. She knew she was risking her life to save a creature most people feared. It was a crazy gamble, but one she was willing to take. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Sarah cut the last loop. The python, after one last weak convulsion, slowly slithered out of the fence, its massive body collapsing, panting heavily. It lay motionless on the grass, exhausted and in pain, but free. And then, the strangest thing happened. The lions, the formidable predators who had been poised to strike just moments before, simply watched. They didn't growl, they didn't charge. They just stood there like living statues, then silently turned and walked away, disappearing into the savanna. It was a moment of strange silence, an invisible acceptance from nature, a quiet forgiveness for human intervention in a noble cause. Sarah exhaled a sigh of relief, her entire body trembling. She had done it. Sarah immediately called for rescue support. A few hours later, the python was transported to the reserve's veterinary facility. Sarah stood there, observing every step of the care process. She watched the veterinarians carefully stitch the deep wounds on the python's body, bandage the cuts, and then place it in a special, warm, and safe recovery enclosure. For weeks, Sarah regularly visited the python. She brought it food, checked its wounds, and simply stood watching it. She witnessed its slow but resilient recovery. From a creature near death, it gradually regained its strength, its wounds healed, and its old scales were slowly replaced by new, shiny ones. One day, when Sarah visited, she placed her hand on the glass of the enclosure. The python, now much stronger, slowly slithered over, gently pressing its head against the glass, right where her hand was. It wasn't an attack, not a threat. It was a moment of pure connection, a silent thank you, a deep understanding that transcended species boundaries. In that moment, Sarah felt a profound sense of peace spread through her soul. And then the day came. On a clear morning, Sarah and her rescue team brought the fully recovered python back to the exact spot where its ordeal had begun, now with the barbed wire fence completely removed. The transport crate was placed on the ground. Sarah slowly opened the door. The giant python, now fully healed, slowly emerged. It paused, turned its head to look at Sarah for a moment. Its golden eyes shimmered in the sunlight, like a farewell, a promise before it slowly, majestically, slithered into the lush green grass and disappeared into the vast savanna. Sarah stood there, watching until the python's silhouette vanished. A gentle smile formed on her lips. In the harsh world of nature, where life and death are always close, her action might have been just a drop in the ocean. But for this single creature, it was an entire world. The story of the python and Sarah's compassion is not just a tale of rescue. It carries a powerful and gentle message. Every life, even the most formidable, deserves a second chance. Because sometimes, it is in our smallest acts of compassion that we find the greatest strength to change a destiny and to change the world around us. Thank you for following the dramatic story of the African rock python's rescue. We hope you had an emotional and impactful experience with Ranger Sarah. What do you think about this challenging rescue journey? Please share your feelings, thoughts about the story, or any moments that impressed you the most in the comments below. If you love stories about the wild natural world and meaningful conservation efforts, don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on more exciting and significant content in the future.